Let me tell you the story of how I went from being a respected surgeon to a man with nothing left to lose. My name is Rohan, and this is the story of how I destroyed the career of the man who tried to ruin mine. It started on an ordinary Tuesday morning. The sun was just rising over Chicago, casting long shadows across the hospital parking lot as I walked in for another grueling shift. I loved my job. Every late night, every emergency, every life saved. I was good at it. At least, I thought I was. Then came that day. The day the medical board letter arrived. I remember sitting in my office, my hands shaking as I tore open the envelope. The words blurred in front of me. Malpractice risk. Suspended pending investigation. Patient fatality under your care. My stomach dropped. None of it made sense. I had followed protocol. I had done everything right. But Dr. Vikram Hartman, the chief of surgery, the golden boy of Mercy General, had already spun his version of events. By the time I stepped into that hearing room, the whispers had started. Rohan Malhotra botched a routine procedure. He was distracted, reckless. A man died because of him. The worst part? I knew. It wasn't me. I knew. It was Hartman's mistake. That night in the ER, I had seen him rush the dosage, seen him dismiss the nurse's warning. But when the patient crashed, when the monitors flatlined, Hartman was the first to speak. "Rohan, what did you do?" And just like that, the blame shifted. The nurses, the residents, even my own colleagues looked at me differently. The man I had admired, the mentor I had trusted, had thrown me under the bus without a second thought. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just break you, it fuels you. As I walked out of that hospital for the last time, my ID badge ripped from my scrubs, one thought burned in my mind. Hartman took everything from me, and I was going to return the favor. I just didn't know yet how far I'd have to go to make him pay. The first time I met Dr. Vikram Hartman, he saved a man's life in the ER. Just walked in, took one look at the patient and called out orders like he'd done it 1,000 times before. The nurses moved faster when he spoke. The residents hung on every word. That was 3 years ago. Back when I still thought heroes existed in medicine, Hartman wasn't just good, he was perfect. Youngest chief of surgery in Mercy General's history, published research, charisma that made donors open their checkbooks. Patients requested him by name. The hospital board treated him like royalty. I watched him work one morning, a complicated bowel resection. His hands never hesitated. Every cut precise, every stitch perfect. When he finished, the operating team actually applauded. "You should scrub in with me more often, Rohan," he said afterward, clapping me on the shoulder. "You've got potential." For months I believed that. Came in early, stayed late, took every extra shift he offered. When he suggested I lead the Patel case, I thought it was my big break. Then came the crash. Mr. Patel's monitor started screaming at 2:17 a.m., blood pressure bottoming out, heart rate erratic. I called for Hartman immediately. He arrived still tying his surgical mask. "What did you give him?" "Standard anesthetic dose," I said, "exactly per protocol." Hartman didn't even check the chart, just grabbed the crash cart. "Start compressions." We worked for 43 minutes, nurses cycling in fresh every 2 minutes. The resident anesthesiologist calling out vitals, Hartman barking orders. When the flatline tone finally sounded, Hartman peeled off his gloves. Time of death, 3:02. Then he did something strange. He picked up the medication chart, the one I'd signed off on, and made a notation, added a 0 to the dosage, turned 2.5 milligram into 25 milligram. "What are you doing?" I asked. He didn't look up. "Correcting the record." The nurse saw it too. She opened her mouth, then closed it when Hartman looked at her. That's when I understood. The golden boy didn't make mistakes. Other people made them for him. And now, that included me. The alarm woke me at 5:30 a.m., another double shift at Mercy General. I rubbed my eyes and checked my phone. 3 missed calls from the hospital. The last one came 15 minutes ago. I called back as I pulled on my scrubs. Dr. Malhotra, we need you now, the charge nurse said. Emergency gallbladder removal. Dr. Hartman requested you specifically. I grabbed my keys and ran to the car. The roads were empty this early, streetlights still on. My breath fogged the windshield until the heater kicked in. When I got to OR3, Hartman was already gowned up. The patient, Mr. Patel, 58, lay on the table. Monitors beeping steadily, nurses prepping instruments. You're late, Hartman said without looking up. I came as fast as I could. He handed me a chart. You're assisting? Let's move. The surgery started routine. Hartman made the first incision. I handled retractors, keeping the field clear, everything by the book. Then at 6:43 a.m. the anesthesiologist spoke up. BP's dropping, 90/60. Hartman didn't pause. Keep going. I watched the monitor. The numbers kept falling. 85/55, 80/50. We should stop, I said. Hartman kept working. He's fine, just give him more fluids. The nurse adjusted the IV. The numbers kept dropping. Dr. Hartman, the anesthesiologist said louder. 72/48, heart rate's climbing. Hartman finally looked up. What did you give him? Standard propofol dose, 2.5 milligrams. Hartman glanced at the vial on the tray, then at me. Who prepared this? I did, the anesthesiologist said. Hartman shook his head. Rohan, check the chart. I looked. The order clearly said 2.5 milligrams, but when I checked the empty vial, it was 25 milligrams, 10 times the dose. That's not possible, the anesthesiologist said. I drew up 2.5. Hartman grabbed the crash cart. No time. He's coding. The monitor screamed. Flatline. We started CPR. Hartman called for epinephrine. I did compressions. 3 nurses scrambled to help. Charging to 200, someone yelled. Clear. Mr. Patel's body jerked. The line stayed flat, again and again. 43 minutes we worked, until Hartman finally called it. Time of death, 7:26 a.m. Silence fell over the OR. The nurses avoided eye contact. The anesthesiologist looked pale. Hartman pulled off his gloves. Rohan with me. In the hallway, he turned on me. What the hell happened in there? I didn't touch the meds. The anesthesiologist signed off on your dosage, Hartman finished. He showed me the chart. My signature was there, right next to the 25 milligram notation. That's not my writing. Hartman's voice dropped. 3 people saw you check that vial. The nurse, the anesthesiologist, me. He leaned closer. This is your mistake, Rohan. Own it. I stared at the chart. The numbers had been changed, the signature forged, and everyone would believe Hartman over me. The next morning, I got called to administration. The letter came that afternoon. By evening, my badge was gone, but so was my hesitation, because now I knew exactly what kind of man Hartman was and exactly what I needed to do. The security guard met me at the hospital entrance the next morning. He held out his hand before I could swipe my badge. Administration wants to see you, Dr. Malhotra. I knew what that meant. The walk to the 3rd floor felt longer than usual. Nurses stopped talking when I passed. The residents I'd trained wouldn't look at me. The board members sat around the conference table. Hartman stood by the window, arms crossed. The CEO slid a folder toward me. We've reviewed the Patel case, he said. The family is filing a wrongful death lawsuit. The hospital must respond. I opened the folder. My signature was on every page. Incident reports I'd never seen. Medication logs I hadn't filled out. This isn't right, I said. The dosage was changed after the fact. Hartman sighed like he was disappointed. Rohan, the anesthesiologist, testified you prepared the drugs. 2 nurses confirmed it. They're lying. The CEO shook his head. We have video of you handling the vials. That stopped me. There were cameras in every OR, but they only showed angles, not details. You couldn't see numbers on a tiny medication bottle from that distance. They can't prove it's already done, the CEO said. He pushed another paper across the table. Suspension notice, effective immediately. Hartman stepped forward. It's standard procedure during investigations, just until this blows over. I looked at him, really looked. The concern in his voice didn't reach his eyes. Turn in your badge and pager, the CEO said. HR will contact you about next steps. I walked out of that room with every eye in the hallway on me. The whispers started before I reached the elevator. Malpractice. Killed a patient. How could he be so careless? My locker was exactly as I'd left it. Stethoscope on the hook, extra scrubs folded on the shelf, photos of my medical school graduation taped to the door. I took them down slowly. Dr. Malhotra? A nursing student stood in the doorway. One I'd mentored. She held out a box. They said to collect your things. I dropped my badge in the box. The metal clinked against the bottom. 8 years at Mercy General. Gone with one signature. The parking lot was bright with afternoon sun. I sat in my car and called my wife. Rohan, what's wrong? I told her. The words came out flat. Suspension, investigation, possible lawsuit. Silence. Then, they think you killed someone? It wasn't me. Another pause. Too long. You should call a lawyer. She hung up first. That night, the local medical board website updated. My license status changed from active to under review in bold red letters. By morning, my photo was on the news. Local hospital investigates patient death. They used my employee ID picture. Below it, a quote from Hartman. Mercy General holds itself to the highest standards. We're cooperating fully with investigators. My phone buzzed with texts. Colleagues, friends, my brother. I didn't answer. At noon, an email arrived from the State Medical Board. Formal hearing scheduled in 30 days. Possible revocation of license. I closed my laptop, walked to the kitchen, poured a drink. The glass was still full when my phone rang again. Unknown number. Dr. Malhotra, this is Nurse Reynolds from Mercy General, from the Patel case. I sat up. What do you want? Her voice dropped to a whisper. I saw what really happened. The dosage was changed after the fact. I can prove it. The ice in my drink cracked. Why are you telling me this? Because you're not the first Dr. Hartman's done this to, and if someone doesn't stop him, you won't be the last. She hung up. I looked at my untouched drink, poured it down the sink. Hartman thought this was over. He was wrong. It was just beginning. The medical board's decision came by certified mail. 1 page, 3 sentences. My license was revoked, effective immediately. I read it 3 times before folding it and putting it in my pocket. My wife left the next week. She took the furniture, the dishes, the wedding photos. I didn't argue. You're not the man I married, she said at the door. Her brother waited in the car outside. He glared through the windshield while she spoke. I'll get my license back, I told her. She shook her head. It's not just the license, Rohan. It's you, the drinking, the anger. You've changed. The door clicked shut behind her. I poured a drink, then another. The apartment got quiet after that. Just me and the TV. The local news ran a segment about problem doctors 2 days later. My photo was third in the lineup. I stopped answering my phone. My brother kept calling. My parents left voicemails. I deleted them without listening. The bank called about mortgage payments. I ignored them too. By the 3rd month, the money ran low. I sold my watch, then my car. The liquor store clerk started recognizing me. Rough day, Doc? He'd ask when I came in. I stopped correcting him. Winter came early that year. Cold seeped through the apartment windows. I drank to stay warm, drank to sleep, drank because there was nothing else to do. One night, I woke up on the bathroom floor. My head throbbed. My mouth tasted like copper. The mirror showed a cut above my eyebrow. I didn't remember how it got there. I poured the last of the whiskey down the drain, made coffee instead, sat at the kitchen table as the sun came up. That's when the email came through. It was from an address I didn't recognize, just 2 lines. Check your mailbox. You'll want to see this. I put on shoes and walked downstairs. The morning air stung my lungs. Inside the mailbox was a plain manila envelope, no return address. I opened it right there in the lobby. Photos spilled out. Dozens of them. Hartman at a restaurant with a woman who wasn't his wife. Hartman signing paperwork at a private clinic. Hartman handing cash to a man in scrubs. At the bottom of the stack was a note. He's done this before, 3 times that I know of. You were just the latest. I flipped through the photos again. One stood out. Hartman at Mercy General's pharmacy late at night. The date stamp showed it was taken 2 days before Mr. Patel's surgery. My hands didn't shake as I gathered the photos. The headache faded. The cut above my eye didn't hurt anymore. Hartman thought he'd won. He was wrong. The game had just changed. The photos sat on my kitchen table for 3 days. I didn't touch them, didn't look at them, just walked past them every time I went to make coffee. On the 4th morning, I spread them out, examined each one. Hartman meeting with the woman. Hartman at the clinic. Hartman handing over cash. The pharmacy shot was clearest. Time stamped 11:47 p.m., 2 nights before Mr. Patel died. I called the only number I still knew by heart. My brother picked up on the 2nd ring. Rohan, Jesus, where have you been? I need a favor. Silence. Then, what kind of favor? I need you to look someone up. A nurse from Mercy General, Sarah Reynolds. Why? She knows something about Hartman. More silence. My brother worked in IT at County General, had access to systems I didn't anymore. Give me an hour, he finally said. The call disconnected. I made coffee, drank it black. The clock on the stove ticked loud in the quiet apartment. My phone buzzed at the 53-minute mark. Sarah Reynolds quit Mercy General 3 weeks ago, my brother said. Filed a complaint against Hartman on her way out. HR buried it. What was the complaint? Improper medication handling. Sound familiar? I looked at the pharmacy photo again. Where is she now? According to payroll, she took a job at Westside Urgent Care. You didn't hear that from me. I showered for the first time in days, shaved, put on clean clothes. The mirror showed dark circles under my eyes, but my hands were steady. Westside Urgent Care was a 20-minute bus ride. A small brick building with faded signage. The waiting room was half full when I walked in. Sarah Reynolds stood behind the reception desk. She looked up as I approached. Recognition flashed across her face. Then fear. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. We need to talk. She glanced around. Not here. Not now. Then when? Her eyes darted to a security camera in the corner. There's a diner on 8th Street, the Blue Star. Meet me there at 7. I nodded and left. The Blue Star was nearly empty when I arrived. Sarah slid into the booth 10 minutes late, still in scrubs. She kept her hands wrapped around her coffee cup. I could lose my job for talking to you, she said. I already lost mine. She studied my face. You look like hell. I've had better months. Sarah took a deep breath. Hartman's been doing this for years. Anytime he messes up, someone else takes the fall, usually residents who don't know better. You were his first attending. How many others? 3 that I know of. 1 lost her license. Another moved back to India. The 3rd killed himself last year. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Why come forward now? Because I'm tired of being afraid. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thumb drive. This has everything. Medication logs, security footage, emails, enough to bury him. I took the drive. It felt heavy in my hand. What do you want me to do with this? Sarah finished her coffee. What you should have done months ago, fight back. She left cash on the table and stood up. One more thing, she said. Hartman knows you're looking into this. Be careful. The diner door chimed as she left. I sat there until my coffee went cold. Hartman thought this was over. He was wrong. The fight was just starting. The thumb drive sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days before I plugged it in. I stared at the files for an hour before opening the first one. Medical records, dozens of them, all with the same pattern, procedures Hartman performed, followed by complications, then altered charts, changed medication logs. Every time someone else took the blame. I made a list. 7 cases over 3 years, 3 nurses fired, 2 residents transferred, 1 anesthesiologist who lost his license, and now me. The security footage was harder to watch. Grainy black and white clips showing Hartman in the pharmacy late at night, always alone, always near the medication cabinets. One clip showed him swapping vials, another showed him editing charts on a computer. The last folder contained emails. Hartman to hospital administrators, Hartman to the medical board, Hartman to lawyers. All polite, all professional, all carefully worded to shift responsibility. I printed everything, spread the pages across my living room floor. The pattern was clear, the evidence was solid, but it wasn't enough. I called my brother again. "I need another favor," he sighed. "What now?" "Does County still use the same medical record system as Mercy?" "Yeah, why?" "I need access." "That's illegal, Rohan." "So is what Hartman did." Silence, then keys clicking in the background. "I'm sending you a login. It'll only work for 24 hours. The login arrived at 3:17 a.m. I stayed up all night searching, cross-referencing Hartman's cases with pharmacy records, pulling staffing schedules, checking audit logs. By morning, I had it. Proof Hartman altered records after Mr. Patel's death. Proof he accessed my files without authorization. Proof the hospital knew and did nothing. I saved everything to a new drive, printed copies. Then I made another call. "State Medical Board," a woman answered. "I need to speak to someone about filing a complaint." "Hold, please." The line clicked. A man came on. "Investigations, Harris speaking." I took a deep breath. "My name is Dr. Rohan Malhotra. I have evidence of medical misconduct at Mercy General Hospital." "Regarding?" "Falsified records, patient harm, cover-ups." Specifically, I said, looking at Hartman's photo on my wall. "I can prove Dr. Vikram Hartman killed a patient and framed me for it." Silence. Then the sound of a pen scratching paper. "Come to our offices tomorrow at 9, Harris said. "Bring everything you have." I hung up and looked at the evidence spread across my table. Months of work, years of Hartman's lies, all about to come crashing down. Hartman thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. Justice was coming. The medical board investigator's office smelled like stale coffee and old paper. Detective Harris, a tired-looking man with salt and pepper hair, motioned me to sit. "Show me what you have." I placed the thumb drive on his desk, then the printed records, the photos, everything. Harris scrolled through the files without speaking. His expression never changed. When he finally looked up, he rubbed his eyes. "This is serious." "I know." He tapped the desk. "Problem is, chain of custody. How'd you get these pharmacy videos?" "A nurse risked her job to get them." "Name?" I shook my head. "Not unless you guarantee protection." Harris sighed. "I'll need to verify all this. Could take weeks." "We don't have weeks. Hartman's testifying before the hospital board tomorrow. They're about to promote him." Harris leaned back. "What do you want me to do?" "Come to the hearing, listen to his testimony, then confront him with this when he lies under oath." "That's not how we normally—" "It's the only way," I said. "He's got friends at Mercy. Warn them and this disappears." Harris studied me. "You're asking me to ambush a respected surgeon." "I'm asking you to catch a criminal." He took the drive. "I'll look into it, no promises." The hospital board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. in the administration building. I arrived at 9:30 and took a seat in the back. Hartman stood near the front, shaking hands, smiling. He didn't see me. The chairman called the room to order. They discussed budgets, new equipment, then moved to personnel matters. "Final item," the chairman said, "promotion of Dr. Vikram Hartman to Chief of Surgery." Hartman stood when called. He spoke about his vision for the department, his commitment to patient care. His voice was smooth, confident. Then the chairman asked the required question. "Dr. Hartman, is there anything in your professional history that might reflect poorly on this institution?" Hartman smiled. "Nothing whatsoever. My record speaks for itself." The doors at the back of the room opened. Harris walked in with 2 uniformed officers. "Dr. Hartman," Harris said, "my name is Detective Harris with the State Medical Board. We need to ask you some questions." The room went silent. Hartman's smile froze. Regarding? Harris held up a file. Regarding 7 cases of falsified medical records, 3 wrongful terminations, and 1 suspicious death. Hartman's eyes found me in the crowd. For the first time, I saw fear in them. "I don't know what this is about," he said. "Someone's clearly misinformed you." Harris placed a photo on the table. Hartman in the pharmacy, time-stamped. "Care to explain this?" The board members passed the photo around, whispered. Hartman's hands began to shake. "This is ridiculous," he said. "Those records are—" "Under oath," Harris interrupted. "You just swore your record was clean." The chairman stood. "Perhaps we should continue this in private." Harris nodded. "We will. Down at the station." He turned to Hartman. "You have the right to remain silent." As they led Hartman out, he turned to me. His mouth opened, then closed. No words came. Harris paused beside me. "We'll need your full statement." "I'll be there." The room erupted in chatter as the doors closed behind Hartman. Reporters called their editors. Board members argued. I walked out into the sunlight. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah Reynolds. "Did it work?" I typed back. "Better than we planned." Hartman thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. Justice had arrived. The State Medical Board convened in a sterile conference room on the 8th floor of a government building. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. 12 board members sat at a long table, nameplates in front of them. A court reporter waited with her fingers poised over the stenotype machine. I arrived early, took a seat at the petitioner's table. My hand stayed still on the folder of evidence. Hartman came in 10 minutes later with his lawyer. They sat across the room. He wore an expensive suit but hadn't shaved. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. The chairman called the hearing to order. Case number 4827, in the matter of Dr. Rohan Malhotra's medical license revocation. He adjusted his glasses. "Dr. Malhotra, you're appealing the board's decision." "Yes." My voice didn't shake. The chairman nodded. "Present your case." I stood, handed copies of my evidence to each board member. 3 months ago, Dr. Vikram Hartman falsified records to blame me for a patient's death. I have proof. Hartman's lawyer jumped up. "Objection. These allegations are—" "Overruled," the chairman said. "Continue, Dr. Malhotra." I clicked open the laptop I'd brought. The projector lit up the screen at the front of the room. Exhibit 1, security footage from Mercy General's pharmacy. The video played, grainy black and white. Hartman entering alone at 11:47 p.m., looking around, swapping vials in the medication cabinet. Exhibit 2, original medication logs for Mr. Patel's case. I showed the unaltered file, then the version Hartman submitted. The changes were obvious. Exhibit 3, testimony from nurse Sarah Reynolds. Her recorded deposition played. She described seeing Hartman alter records, how he'd pressured staff to corroborate his story. Hartman's face turned red. His lawyer kept whispering to him. When the video ended, the chairman turned to Hartman. "Dr. Hartman, your response." Hartman stood, adjusted his tie. "These claims are outrageous. That footage could be from any night. The nurse has an axe to grind. As for the records—" "Actually," interrupted a board member on the left, "we have verification." She held up a sheet. "Our IT specialist confirmed these are original system files, not edited." Hartman's mouth opened, closed. I clicked to the next exhibit. Exhibit 4, email from Dr. Hartman to hospital administration. The screen showed Hartman's message. "We need to address the Patel situation before the family sues. Malhotra's the obvious scapegoat." The room went completely silent. Hartman's lawyer stood quickly. "My client pleads the fifth." Murmurs spread through the board members. The chairman banged his gavel. "Dr. Hartman, you understand these are serious allegations?" Hartman didn't answer, just stared at the table. I took out one last document. "This is a sworn statement from the anesthesiologist on Mr. Patel's case. He confirms Dr. Hartman ordered the fatal dosage, then threatened his career if he spoke up." The chairman took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes. "We'll recess to deliberate." They left the room. Hartman and his lawyer huddled in the corner. I sat alone, watching the clock. 47 minutes later, the board returned. The chairman didn't sit down. Findings in case number 4827. The board concludes Dr. Malhotra's license revocation was improper. His privileges are fully reinstated effective immediately. He turned to Hartman. Dr. Vikram Hartman's medical license is hereby suspended pending criminal investigation. This matter is referred to the district attorney's office. Hartman's lawyer started arguing. The chairman banged the gavel again. Meeting adjourned. Reporters rushed in as soon as the doors opened. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. I walked past it all. Past Hartman slumped in his chair. Past the board members shaking their heads. My phone buzzed as I reached the elevator. A text from the hospital CEO. "Come see me tomorrow. We need to discuss your reinstatement." I didn't reply, just stepped into the elevator, pressed the button for the lobby. Hartman thought he could destroy me. He was wrong. Justice had spoken. The news broke at 6:17 a.m. My phone started buzzing with alerts before the sun came up. Prominent surgeon arrested in medical fraud case. Mercy General rocked by scandal. Doctor faces manslaughter charges. I turned on the TV while making coffee. There he was, Hartman in handcuffs, being led into the county jail. His expensive suit looked rumpled. His perfect hair was messy. The reporter shouted questions he didn't answer. My phone rang. The hospital CEO. "Rohan, we need to talk." "About what?" "Your reinstatement, the board emergency meeting, Hartman's replacement." I sipped my coffee. "I'll be in at 9. Mercy General looked the same as always. Same sliding doors, same smell of antiseptic. But everything felt different. Staff stopped talking when I walked past. Nurses stared, residents whispered. The security guard who'd taken my badge months ago actually smiled. The CEO's office was full of people, board members, hospital lawyers, the chief of staff. They all stood when I entered. The CEO gestured to a chair. "We've reviewed the board's decision. Your license is clear. Your position is waiting." One of the lawyers slid a paper across the desk. "This outlines your back pay and a settlement for wrongful termination." I didn't touch it. "What about Hartman?" The CEO sighed. "Suspended without pay, facing criminal charges. The medical board revoked his license permanently this morning." The chief of staff cleared his throat. "We're offering you Hartman's old position, chief of surgery." I looked around the room, at their expectant faces, at the way they leaned forward. "No," the CEO blinked. "What?" "I'm not taking Hartman's job, or coming back to Mercy." The lawyers exchanged glances. The CEO's face fell. "Then what do you want?" I stood up. 3 things. First, public apology from the hospital. Second, compensation for the nurses Hartman got fired. Third, free care for Mr. Patel's family for life. Silence. Then the CEO nodded. "Done." I walked out of that office for the last time, down the hall, past the OR where it all started. Sarah Reynolds waited by the elevators. "Heard the news?" she asked. I nodded. "You going back to work here?" She shook her head. "Too many ghosts. I start at county next week." The elevator doors opened. We stepped in together. "What will you do now?" she asked. I pressed the button for the lobby. "Not sure. Maybe open a small practice. Help people who can't afford places like this." The doors closed on Mercy General, on Hartman's legacy, on everything that had happened there. Hartman thought he'd won. He was wrong. I had something better than revenge. I had my future back. The empty storefront on Maple Street had been vacant for 6 months, peeling paint, dusty windows, a handwritten "For Lease" sign curled at the edges. I called the number. The landlord arrived 30 minutes later, keys jingling in his hand. "You're the doctor?" I nodded. He unlocked the door. The space smelled like old wood and cleaning supplies. Sunlight streamed through the front windows, catching dust in the air. "Needs work," he said. "I can fix it." We walked through the empty rooms, front waiting area, 2 exam rooms in back, small office, bathroom. "Zoning's good for medical," the landlord said. Last tenant was a chiropractor. I ran my hand along the wall, solid. How much? He named a price. I counted. We shook hands. The contractor started work the next day, ripping up old carpet, painting walls light blue, installing new flooring. My brother helped build the reception desk. My father donated an old examination table from his clinic back home. Sarah Reynolds stopped by with a box of medical supplies. Stole them from Mercy, she said with a wink. The signmaker came on Thursday. Gold letters on the front window, Malhotra Family Medicine. I stood on the sidewalk watching him work. A woman from the flower shop next door came over. New practice, she asked. Opening Monday, she smiled. We need a good doctor around here. The medical supply delivery arrived Friday afternoon. Boxes of gloves, tongue depressors, bandages. The drug rep left samples in the cabinet. I hung my framed medical license behind the reception desk, right where patients would see it when they checked in. Saturday morning, I sat in the empty waiting room with a stack of forms, insurance paperwork, patient intake sheets, business licenses. My phone buzzed, a text from Mr. Patel's daughter. Heard about your new clinic. Dad would be proud. I taped the first appointment card to the wall. Monday, 9 a.m., Mrs. Evelyn Carter, 72 years old, no insurance, diabetic. The local paper ran a small story Sunday morning. Disgraced doctor opens free clinic. By noon, the voicemail was full. Monday came. I arrived at 7 a.m., turned on the lights, put coffee on in the back, set out fresh pens on the reception desk. At 8:45, the front door chimed. Mrs. Carter shuffled in, leaning on a cane. She looked around the clean waiting room, at the new chairs, the plants in the corner. Nice place, she said. I smiled. Let's get you checked in. The exam room was bright. The table paper crinkled as she sat down. I washed my hands, listened to her breathing, checked her blood sugar. You're my first patient, I told her. She patted my arm. You'll have many more. By noon, 5 people had come in. By closing time, 12. I locked the front door as the sun set. The gold letters on the window caught the fading light. Hartman tried to end my career. He failed. Today wasn't about revenge. It was about starting over. The clinic had been open for 3 months when the letter arrived. Thick envelope. Official state medical board seal. I almost threw it out with the junk mail. The letter inside was short. 2 paragraphs. Hartman's criminal trial date. My subpoena to testify. I pinned it to the bulletin board behind my desk, between patient charts and supply orders. Mrs. Carter noticed it during her weekly checkup. That the Hartman business? She asked, squinting at the paper. I nodded, adjusted her blood pressure cuff. You gonna go? Have to. It's a subpoena. She made a disapproving noise. That man caused enough trouble. The blood pressure monitor beeped. Numbers flashed. Better than last week. As I wrote down the reading, the front door chimed. Sarah Reynolds walked in carrying 2 coffee cups. Thought you could use this, she said, handing me one. Mrs. Carter smiled. You two sweet on each other. Sarah laughed. Just colleagues. I showed her the letter. She read it slowly, sipped her coffee. They're calling me too, she said. And the anesthesiologist. And 3 nurses. Mrs. Carter shook her head. Whole hospital coming to court. Not the whole hospital, I said. Just the people Hartman screwed over. The phone rang. Another new patient wanting an appointment. After Mrs. Carter left, Sarah stayed behind, leaned against the exam table. You ready for this? She asked. I looked around the clinic, at the full waiting room, at the files stacked on my desk, at the subpoena pinned to the board. Ready as I'll ever be. Sarah finished her coffee. Trial starts Tuesday. Pick you up at 8. I'll be ready. She left. The door chimed again. I turned back to the patient charts, flipped to a fresh page, wrote the date at the top. Hartman thought his downfall was the end. He was wrong. The reckoning was just getting started. Call to action for YouTube audience. This was just the beginning. Hartman's trial is coming. Want to see him finally face justice? Smash that like button and subscribe. What would you have done in Rohan's place? Comment below, would you have walked away with or made sure Hartman paid for what he did? Share this with someone who's ever been betrayed. Sometimes, revenge is best served cold and public.